Good evening. This meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education is now in session. I'd like to ask everyone to please join me in the pledge. There you go. Thank you, Ms. Koloponowicz. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America,
to the
the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Have the roll call, Mr. Gorski.
Mrs. Arminio.
I am present.
Thank you. Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Ms. DeMayo.
Here.
Ms. Koloponowicz. I confirm Mrs. Koloponowicz is here. Mr. Nikotinsky.
Here. Here.
Mr. Pelori.
I'm here, Mike.
Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Ms. Siegel.
Here.
Mr. Tufano.
Here.
And Mr. Rutsky.
Here.
Mr. Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published, an electronic notice provided by having the date, time, and place thereof posted December 4th, 2020 at all schools, on the district website at https://www.monroe.k12.nj.us/ at the Home News Tribune, the Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality. Briefly, I'll provide instructions for making public comment this evening. To make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature and lower it when your speaking endeavor is over. When you are called on to speak during public forum, your microphone status will be set to unmute. Please do not attempt to unmute yourself, as this may cause your microphone to stay muted. When called upon, you will be given the option to share your device's camera with the rest of the panelists and attendees during your speaking time. If you choose not to do this, simply click the video camera icon. After you are unmuted, please state your name and address. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 4 minutes duration or less in accordance with Board Bylaw 0167. After you are finished speaking, you will be muted and your permission to share your camera will be disabled. And again, please remember to turn off the raised hand feature when you're finished.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. Okay, we can move on to the approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the Public Board of Education meeting of November 18th, 2020. Somebody move?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Mayo, thank you. Any discussion? And we could vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Motion passes. I need a motion to pass the closed session meeting of November 18th, 2020.
Steve, it's Paul. I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
It's Randy, I'll second it.
Mr. Pelori seconds. Okay, any discussion or comment?
This is the closed session?
Yes, Michelle.
Okay, I just feel, again, the closed session really isn't sufficient enough for future information for the public. We went into closed session at 9:34 p.m. We got out at 10:20, and there are only, there are only 6 lines of information. So I think the closed session minutes is not sufficient. But thank you.
How are you voting? I'm sorry. We're going to vote. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
I'm opposed, so no.
Okay, any abstentions or recusals? I believe the motion passes. Mr. Gorski, am I correct?
Yes, sir. Motion moved by Mr. Rutsky, seconded by Mr. Pelori, opposed by Mrs. Arminio. All else in favor. Thank you.
Okay. We can move on to committee reports. I'm going to call curriculum, then BG&T, and then policy. Finance and educational advocacy did not meet. And personnel, I don't know, Mrs. Koloponowicz, if you want to report on something, that's fine. And if Mr. Pelori or Mr. Buskey want to say anything, that will be fine after. But let's start with curriculum. Mr. Mayo?
Okay, we reviewed 2 documents, the Dynamics of Trigonometry and Math Analysis. This is the 4th course in the Dynamics Math Series designed for students whose math abilities lend them to understanding the concepts through a more concrete approach. This accommodates a variety of learning styles, solving problems numerically, algebraically, and graphically. Emphasis is placed on the application of concepts rather than theory. This prepares students for math coursework at the post-secondary level. The curriculum is an extension of algebraic functions and inequalities, emphasizes the application of trigonometry concepts. A new textbook, College, Algebra, and Trigonometry by Pearson Education, was adopted this year to align with the philosophy of this course with appropriate level problems. The second thing we discussed was curriculum mapping project of Intro to Spanish at the high school. Intro to Spanish was developed with the high school special program, Access, Falcon Life, MD, and TAP classes population in mind. Due to language weaknesses of these individuals, the curriculum is not focused on language acquisition. The focus will be within the Spanish culture. Early language skill acquisition will be addressed. However, the primary focus will involve learning about the history, geography, customs, and culture. This class would supply this population of students with the depth of background knowledge that will help support them in their future. It would support them with a class in which they can learn about another culture without the obstacle of language. We also were given a presentation about the middle school virtual election project. This is a school-wide election project that has been done at the last 11 presidential election cycles. 234 middle school students applied. Voting took place school-wide. Students were represented candidates from both parties. They recorded speeches to present to the student body in their social studies classes, and the election modeled the electoral college. So each class represented a state, and they voted like the electoral college would. And one of the the teachers arranged for a speaker from the National Constitution Center to speak about the electoral college, giving the students a more depth of understanding and got the experience of a real world election. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mayo from the board? If you have a question, please just call out because I don't see everybody on my screen. Okay, we can move to BG&T. Mr. Tufano.
Steve, I'm going to combine this month's meeting with next month's meeting when I read, okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Policy. Ms. Siegel.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So the policy committee met last week, and I started the meeting by thanking our committee. We have done, doing a quick calculation, we've reviewed over 65 policies and regulations since February. And we've also provided several education pieces to the community throughout the course of the year. So I just wanted to thank the committee again. We reviewed several policies and regulations that we're putting forward to read tonight. Policy 2431, athletic competition, and regulation 2431.1, emergency procedures for sports and other athletic activity. We've updated the policy with the new law requirements. Updates were based on the law, and also changes were made to reflect grades 7 and 8 in the policy and regulation. So just to share some information, this went into effect for the 2020-21 school year and requires school districts that include any of the grades 6 through 12 to establish and implement an emergency action plan for responding to a serious or life-threatening sports-related injury sustained while participating in sports and other athletic activities. NJSA 18A:40-41.11 outlines the required information that must be included in the emergency action plan and requires the plan to be reviewed annually and updated as necessary. The policy guide now includes language required for districts with any grades 6 through 12 and is optional for district without any of the grades 6 through 12, addressing the statutory requirement mandating a board establish and implement an emergency action plan. The title of Regulation Guide 2341.1 has been revised to Emergency Procedures for Sports and Other Athletic Activity to align with the new language. And they've also added a section C, Emergency Procedures, and it's now titled Emergency Action Plan and Procedures, as has been revised to align with the language changes according to the new law. And this policy and regulation is mandated. Both are mandated. The other next policy reviewed was Policy and Regulation 5330.05, Seizure Action Plan. So this is a new policy and regulation. The district nurses have reviewed this policy and regulation. The policy also requires training for our staff. The district physician has created a training module, and it is located on our staff website. This new statute requires the parent of a student with epilepsy or a seizure disorder to submit the student's seizure action plan on an annual basis to the school nurse. The seizure action plan is a comprehensive document provided by the student's physician, advanced practice nurse, or a physician's assistant, which includes information regarding the student's seizure history and treatment. The school nurse shall develop an individualized healthcare plan and an individualized emergency healthcare plan for the student, provided the parent of the student annually provides to the board written authorization for the provision of epilepsy or seizure disorder care. These plans shall be updated annually by the school nurse. And the new statute required the school district to coordinate epilepsy and seizure disorder care at school and ensure that all staff are trained in the care of students with epilepsy and seizure disorder, including staff working with school-sponsored programs outside the regular school day. School bus drivers, contracted and district employed, shall be provided notice and information if they are transporting a student with epilepsy or seizure disorder. So this is, these new statutes are requirements and is effective for the 2020-2021 school year, and both the policy and regulation are mandated. The next policy reviewed was Policy and Regulation 7510, Use of Facilities. This policy and regulation has been updated based on a revised law. Youth organizations will need to train their volunteers in our security plan, evacuation plan, etc. This is now required. Our security team is currently working on a module that youth organization volunteers will have to complete and then sign an attestation form. So this is in effect for the 2020-2021 school year and requires our school districts to ensure all persons who supervise youth programs that are not sponsored by the school district and operate a program in a school district building before or after hours are provided with information and training on the school district's practices and procedures on school safety and security, including non-confidential information on school building security drills, evacuation procedures, and emergency response protocols. It's the responsibility of the organization that sponsors the youth program to train the program's employees and volunteers on school security and emergency procedures in the school building where the youth program is located. And the Regulation Guide 7510 has been revised to include a new Section G, Provision of Training on School Safety and Security, which thoroughly outlines the new requirements of the law. And the last policy that we reviewed was Policy 8561, Procurement Procedures for School Nutrition Programs. This policy has been updated. Strauss-Esme revised the federal funds procurement method selection chart. And those are all of our policies that we reviewed and moved forward for first read on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Siegel. Appreciate the report. A lot of work there. Okay, we can move. I'm sorry. I don't know, Mrs. Koloponowicz, did you want to say anything on personnel?
I have two short things. The first one is that we reviewed the Human Resources Coordinator job description. We made quite a few changes to that, approved by the Personnel Committee, so we will move ahead with that. And the second is that we will be hiring, I believe this evening, a person to replace Greg Byer, who is retiring and is the current health, physical education, and athletics supervisor. And that's all I have I can give this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Pelori, is there anything, I know you're not reporting, it didn't meet, but is there anything you'd like to bring up at this point?
No, Mr. President, thank you.
Okay.
Steve, this is Michelle Arminio. May I ask Rupa Siegel a question?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, hi Rupa. My question regarding the policies most recent from last month and this month, you mentioned they have basically been mandatory or they've been recommended by the company or the firm, Strauss Esme, for revisions, but are they mostly because of their mandatory changes in these policies?
They're all, I believe all the policies tonight were all mandated.
Okay.
And I believe most of the ones that were on last month, we get the alerts from Strauss Esme and those are mandated based on law changes.
Does our in-house attorney have to review them after Strauss Esme actually sends us an advisory notice? I mean, do we make any tweaks based on our particular district's needs?
Dory, do you want to answer this?
Yeah, Mary Smith and I both review them and we go through because a lot of times there are blanks that have to be filled in with specific district information.
Okay, but it's not like you're changing the advisory suggestions from Strauss Esme. So the legal part comes from Strauss Esme and you're just filling in things that are specifically named for the district.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other question? All right, let me just ask Mr. Rutsky, is there anything you may want to say on finance?
Nothing tonight, Steve.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, now.
Steve.
Yes, Andy.
This is Andy. My apologies. I think in the just for the information purposes, just wondering with Mike Gorski to make sure that the township payment for this quarter is in or coming in, or any updates on that, any issues that we anticipate?
It'll be my pleasure to go over that when I do the business administrator report.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, then I guess we can move on to the public forum. This is for agenda items only. You have 4 minutes, and I know Mr. Gorski read the instructions, so I guess we're ready for the first person, Mr. Gross.
Mr. Board President, we have Prakash Parab. Going to give him access now. Please wait. All right, Mr. Parab, please let me know if you'd like your video enabled.
No video, please. Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening, Steve. This is the agenda item. I was looking at the school enrollment from 1996 to date. We added 267 students, but most importantly, looking at the overcapacity, the schools, the Applegarth School and Oak Tree are at 178%. That is like a time bomb. And our middle school is at 141% of capacity, and high school 136%. Why I'm coming to this topic is the master plan re-examination was discussed and is going to be continued. There will be an outreach. I want BOE members and families to participate in that. Re-examination master plan, we should have a separate discussion. We should say about schools. They don't address much about the schools, but we should request that. And what I saw in the master plan is the growth has decreased from 2010 to 2018. They looked at it not up to 2020, 2018. And if you compare the growth from 2000 to 2010 versus last 8 years, that is 2000 to 2008, the growth has decline compared to earlier 10 years. And the growth of the children is not much compared to the adult senior communities. Seniors are mostly coming in, and average median age in our town is 55 years. So where I'm coming is, there were good questions. They are going to look at the census and make sure that last 2 years, we are, 2020 up to how the slope looks like, so that we have correct idea of how many children have come in last 10 years and what is the projection. Unnecessarily, we cannot project a steep line. And I don't know, still I have questions with the demographic reports. So that at least the expansion of the schools should start taking place as the corona is there. We have hybrid learning going on. It will go on. I'll tell you, this will go on for another 9 or 10 months, because most of the population will not get inoculated, vaccinated, only the general population after April or May. My request to upcoming board members to actively look into that, and start, wherever the capacity is, start expanding, look at the opportunity. $150 million referendum will not fly in our town. So look at stepwise expansions of 25 million or whatever you guys think, and take that action. That's my request, Steve, and thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Prakash. Next person, please.
Mr. Board President, we have Pradeep Malam. Mr. Malam, would you like video? Let me know.
No video, please.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. This is Pradeep for Jake Place. This is regarding I see a lot of resignations as well this month in the staff, and I don't see any appointments that are announcing in these meetings, like every month BOI meeting. I see every month there will be like somebody resigned or somebody resigned for retirement, somebody resigned for their own reasons, and all those things. So I would like to know, like, where can I find all the vacant positions for teaching and non-teaching staff in our school district, and how are we proactively hiring them to reduce the burden on the existing staff?
Dr. Alvik, would you like to answer that?
Well, there's actually only one resignation of a teacher, one resignation at the end of the school year for a teacher for retirement, and 2 paraprofessionals that are resigning this year.
Yeah, I'm not just talking about this month, but every month consistently there are few resignations on the agenda. But I don't see any appointments on the agenda.
Oh yeah, the appointments are later on in the agenda. There's actually a whole chart of appointments. In this month's agenda, it's actually letter AJ. Those are the new positions, new appointments, or replacement positions. So those are all the actual appointments for the positions. With regard to where can you find any of the job openings, they are all on our district website. If you go to our HR department, they are all listed through AppleTrack. There's a link through our HR department through AppleTrack.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Next resident, please, Chris.
Mr. Board President, we have Doug Poi. Doug, would you like video? Please let me know.
No, thank you.
Good evening, Doug.
Good evening. Later, I'd like to thank some of the people that this will be their last meeting, but presently, I know you're approving tonight the salaries of the teachers under the new contract, which was settled, I believe, last month. And I'm aware that the negotiations of contracts with the Teachers Association, they're never easy. And I'm confident that the board and the Teachers Association are happy to have settled on a contract for the period of time from 2020 to 2023. However, I am disappointed that the board did not secure better salaries for teachers who are in the early years of their career. A teacher with a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Arts degree and 3 years of prior experience will see a salary increase of $72 a month. That works out to be about $4 a day in terms of the teacher's contract. If the teacher had 2 years of prior experience, the salary will increase by $45.50 a month. These beginning teacher salary increases are well below the increases in the Consumer Price Index, which is about 2.1 to 2.3% for the current year. Also, the starting salaries are not in the best interest of our students, in that Monroe will not be competitive in attracting the best candidates to fill vacancies in the coming years. So even though there may have been a 3% overall increase in salaries, the salaries for the beginning teachers, the teachers in their first, second, third, and fourth year, receive minimal increases below the Consumer Price Index. I do not see how this is in the best interest of our students, since as the older teachers retire, we will not be able to attract the best candidates for those positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person, please.
Mr. Board President, there is nobody else with their hand up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gross. I
You're
guess
welcome.
we can now move on to our Assistant Superintendent's report. Dr. Lehman.
Good evening. I just wanted to start by wishing everyone a healthy and safe winter break. Where, despite what we're going through, we're still heading into the December timeframe, and I just want to make sure everybody knew that we were thinking of them as we approach the next few weeks. And Happy New Year as well. On a good news front, our fall sports teams this season, despite everything we've gone through and all the challenges these teams had and we're going through, they had a banner season this year. Our girls soccer team advanced to the regional quarterfinals. Our girls tennis team advanced to the regional semifinals. Our girls field hockey advanced to the regional finals. In football, there's no regional playoffs this year because of the type of season we had. But the football team had their best winning percentage, a 5-1 record since our state championship year. Our football coach, Dan Lee, was named the Football Conference Coach of the Year. Our boys soccer team won the Central Jersey Regional Championship, and their coach, Steve McKenzie, was named the Boys Conference Coach of the Year. So a huge congratulations to the students, the coaches, the families, everyone involved in making these seasons a success. Tremendous, season to get through, all the challenges, all the difficulties that they went through and persevered. This is just an outstanding season for all of our teams. Some other good news, Dr. Higgins informed me today, and as we, again, get to the end of the school year, a lot of our clubs are kind of wrapping up some of their donations and things. So we have several clubs at the high school that over the course of the past calendar year have donated and given back financially to some charities. So our Multicultural Society has donated $2,500 to RISE. It's a charity in Town. Red Cross Donate and the Environmental Action Club, between both clubs, they donated a total of $2,500 to the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen Task Organization. And then we have 3 other groups, the Red Cross Donate again, the French Honor Society, and the Environmental Action Club. Together donated about $2,500 to Deacon's Food Pantry. So that's totaling $7,500 from those organizations at the high school, or those clubs at the high school. So, in the spirit of this season giving back and things, I thought it was important to note that information that just kind of passed to me. So thank you to those groups. Dr. Pengalos is the advisor of these clubs. He's one of the teachers at the high school. And the events and things and the purpose of these clubs as they went through the year, they were collecting donations with the intent of giving everything back to charities. And that concludes my report. I just wanted to end the year with a lot of good news and things to look forward to as we move ahead.
You did, Dr. Lehman. Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Alvick, our superintendent report.
Okay, so I've continued to communicate all of the cases of COVID-19 that we've had in our district. And I know that the information may seem inconsistent, but it's far from that. It reflects the unique conditions of every situation. The administration works closely with school nurses to diligently review every single case and possible exposure to make decisions that are best for the school community. Communications and notifications go out as soon as possible. Priority is given for notifying the close contacts. So I did share this with the school community. I don't know, my days are kind of running together. So I think it was either last week or the beginning of this week. So there's a process that we follow every time that we are notified of either a positive case or an exposure. So as soon as we receive a notification, whether it's a notification from the Office of Emergency Management or a notification or it's a self-report, either from a parent, the patient's family, a teacher, or the Department of Health, the school nurse, the building administrator, and I follow protocol. If we look at the information that received and confirm it if it has not already been confirmed. We ask questions such as, does the student have siblings? Does the student ride a bus, attend Falcon Care? Does the patient have symptoms? When did the symptoms begin? When was the patient last in the building? All close contacts are identified. We use the definition of a close contact from CDC. If anyone is in the building, they are immediately sent home. All contacts are directed to quarantine for 14 days. I know that the CDC has updated their guidance to 10 days. The district is not moving to that. The state of New Jersey is not yet moving to the 10 days. They're still asking us to stay with the 14 days when feasible. That's the specific information. Notification is sent to the Department of Health, and then they will conduct further contact tracing with the patient and the patient's family. School staff and the affected school is notified, and then the entire school community and Board of Education are notified. If no contacts are identified, then we will continue to monitor the case through the school nurse's office. If contacts are identified, we look to see the extent of the contacts. Does the class need to be quarantined? Does the teacher just need to be quarantined? Do staff members need to be quarantined? Does that class mix with any other class in the building that we now have to quarantine? How many staff are we requiring to quarantine? We have a limited number of substitute teachers, and we're actively looking to expand the list and moving the process along for any applicants, but it takes time and there is a limited number. If the possible exposure is limited to staff and we have the coverage, we cover the staff members. If they're able to work from home, they're working remotely while we put a substitute teacher in the classroom. If the possible exposure expands outside of the classroom, or if it's in a classroom, then we're able to quarantine that classroom or that one hybrid, either the gold or the purple cohort, depending on where the exposure was. If it's an exposure outside of the classroom, causing us to need more substitutes than we can accommodate, then we move the school to remote. Right now we have 2 schools, Mill Lake and Woodland, that are on full remote, and it's due to staffing, not multiple cases. The important thing that I just want to point out is that we are following the guidelines to keep everyone safe, and that's our priority here. It's the safety of everyone in school. We have had no transmissions within schools. All of the cases that we are seeing are separate from the schools. Current numbers as of today. Actually, I'm going to say as of 3 o'clock today because I've unfortunately received another notification before the meeting this evening. As of about 3 o'clock today, we have 10 cumulative positive staff cases since we reopened schools, okay? And 26 cumulative student confirmed positives since we reopened schools. Most of the student cases are students who are outside of the school who are on remote learning. And you'll see that when you look at my almost daily notifications that are going out. I'm letting the community know whether the student has been in school or if they've been remote. Now, the other piece that we're watching, though, is staff or students that are quarantining. And they're either quarantining because they were notified that they were a contact of someone outside of school. They were notified they were a contact of someone in school, but they are not positive, or they've traveled, or they have symptoms. Right now, we have 91 staff members who are quarantining. Some of them are able to work from home, but again, if they're working from home, we have to put a substitute teacher in the classroom. That's where our staffing issues are starting to come in. Now this is staff members, so this is everyone in our schools, whether it be security, secretaries, paras, teachers, administrators, it's staff. Students in quarantine, the nurses may have more than what I have on that I'm following, because they're also following in each school, but I have 60 students that we currently have quarantining based on that information. But again, that may be higher based on the schools and what's happening in the schools. So again, this is a full-time job right now, trying to keep track of what's going on. Notifications are made to the county superintendent, the Department of Health, and we are trying to keep the community updated as well as we can with the numbers that we're getting. It's getting much more difficult. I'm concerned each day about the numbers that are coming in. Currently, Middlesex County is at the orange level of the risk matrix. The CALI number, that's the number that they use that kind of combines all of the data that the state is getting, the daily positivity rate, the number of cases, all of that, they call it a CALI number. That number is updated every Thursday. So tomorrow, if we stay in orange, we will continue doing what we're doing. If we happen to move to red, which is the highest level, then we will be closing schools and moving to full remote, because that is the requirement with that number and that risk matrix. So that's what I have for you on that. So we are continuing to monitor that. I'm monitoring that hourly, all of those numbers and all of those areas. I would like to thank Mr. Ryback, Ms. Kalapanowicz, and Ms. DeMayo for their service to the Board of Education. This is their last meeting. And also on our board agenda this evening, I do want to congratulate Ms. Deb DeBoer on her upcoming retirement. Ms. DeBoer is a special education department coordinator at the high school and a special education teacher for the past almost 28 years. So I wish her a long, happy, and healthy retirement. So with that, Mr. President, I have, it's recommended that the board approve personnel items A through AR.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Alvin.
Yes, Mr. Ryback, it's Michelle Arminio.
Thank you.
Dr. Alvick, on AI, if it's still the same, the step guides, I believe, there's something that says after school HPE makeup. What are we considering now our after school time?
That it's after the teacher's contract. After school is after the teacher's contract. So the teacher's contract, that actually happens to be high school. So the teacher's contract would go to the classes go to 2:05. So I'm thinking 2:10, 2:15. So it would be after that. It's after teacher contract time.
Okay, and they would either, if they're working remotely, they'd continue that, or if they were in the school, one way or the other, they'll still be there?
Yes, teachers can work from home in the afternoon for their afternoon time if they're able to get home in their lunch and prep time.
Okay, so it's hourly instruction, 2 hours per week for 30 weeks, starting at a.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Starting at around 2:10 in the afternoon.
Yeah, and it's an as needed piece. It's for students who need to make up health and PE. So it's as needed for students.
So how do these instructors know when it's needed? Do they know in advance, or are they told that afternoon?
No, they would be told in advance. They would know when they have to have the meetings with the students.
Okay, hold on, let me just make sure I don't have another one in this category. Did you say we're going to A, which is the last?
AR.
Okay, so there was okay, I don't think I have that right now. There was I'll have to look at it, but there was an area where I saw longevity numbers that seemed to be incorrect. But I don't see it now on here. I will ask for a correction if we move beyond that.
Okay, if they are incorrect, the longevity number should not have changed from the current contract.
That was my point. And we'll vote now, and then if I find the other one, I'll point it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think any other question? I'm sorry. All right, Mr. Gorski, I think we could take a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Personnel items A through AR, moved by Mr. Chiarella, seconded by Mr. Tufano. Mr. Tufano,
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky,
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella,
Yes.
Mr. Pelori,
Yes.
Mr. Ryback,
Yes.
Ms. Siegel,
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo. Ms. DeMayo, how do you vote?
I think she might be muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Nicotinsky,
Yes.
Ms. Arminio,
Okay, I think I found it on the non-tenured, right before AQ, it says longevity numbers, and I thought they were wrong. For 20 years, 1,705, for 25, 2,380, and 30 years, 2,865. Isn't that longer than?
I'm sorry, for which letter are you on?
I think it might be AR.
The last one?
Yeah.
That's in the next section. I think that's under personnel is where you're.
Okay, I apologize. I'll hold off. Then my vote is yes.
and Ms. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Mr. Board President, personnel items A through R passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay.
Board action.
So I would like to just say a quick congratulations. We do have a new supervisor of health and PE and athletics, Sean Dowling. We look forward to working with him. He comes to us with 14 years of experience in the same role. So we're excited to have him join our administrative team. And it will not be until the new year that he will be joining us. Board action, it's recommended that the board approve board action items A through I.
So moved.
Mr. Chiarella moved to have a second.
Second.
Oh, Mr. Tufano seconded it? Okay. All right, any question?
Except for, this is Michelle Arminio, except for what I mentioned before about the longevity numbers. Do you see them yet, Dr. Roderick?
You said it's the AR, which are the non-certificated numbers, the non-certificated?
The non-tenured.
Non-tenured. Well, non-tenured wouldn't have any, because those are all staff members under 4 years.
That's what I thought, but there is a salary step guide and then there's a longevity box.
It wouldn't affect them because they're all under 4 years, but I will make sure that's corrected before on the agenda.
Okay, because that's exactly a question I wrote on the. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I guess we could vote.
Very well. Board action items A through I, moved by Mr. Chiarella, seconded by Mr. Tufano. Ms. DeMayo.
Yes.
Ms. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Mr. Pelori.
Yes.
Mr. Tufano.
Yes.
Ski.
Was that Rutsky? That's a yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Nicotinsky.
Yes.
Ms. Siegel.
Yes.
Ms. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Board President, board action items A through I passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, we can move on to our business administrative report.
Thank you. First, I would like to wish everybody a very happy Hanukkah, which begins tomorrow evening. Very Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. At this time, I'd like to begin by addressing Mr. Pelori's concern or question about the township tax payments. Once the township tax bills went out and they recognized the revenue from the payments, the liquidity issue subsided. So there has been no more concern on a monthly basis about the payment coming on time. We've been receiving it in full, and the district's cash position is adequate. And we have a very collaborative relationship on finance. So if there ever was something to create a problem with the payment, Mr. George Lang would certainly give us a call immediately.
Mr. President?
Yes.
If I may, Mr. Gorski, how about the state payments, especially with the financial hardship? Are we at risk on any of the state payments at all?
The state payments have been coming in on time and in full, just like the township tax payments. So
Excellent.
our state aid and our municipal taxes have been paid on time and current. There is always a risk that the state could run into some kind of problem and freeze payments. It happened to us before, where after a budget adoption, the state froze payments and we lost $1.5 million in that year. So that's something we always keep an eye on. And if I get any inclination of that, I'll certainly notify the board immediately. Next, I'd like to provide a brief budget update. This would have been provided during the Finance Committee meeting, which was canceled. Dr. Alvick, Dr. Lehman, Mrs. Allen, and I met with all the schools and some of the district's departments to review their zero-based budgets. And for simplistic terms, a zero-based budget means it's a budget beginning from scratch. It's an empty slate. It's being designed from inception to end, all new. It's not a percentage put on last year like many school districts do, following trends with spending. We asked the principals to go into their supply cabinets, see what they have, project what their enrollment needs are, and design a budget fresh from scratch. And that's called a zero-based budget. And then Dr. Alvick, Dr. Lehman, and I review these, and Mrs. Allen review these budgets to ensure adherence with the board's budget philosophy, the board goals and district goals. And then the need for fiscal conservatism, unlike previous years. And I want to especially thank the principals, supervisors, and Dr. Lehman, who pre-met before the defense rounds this year to form parity with the budgets and consistency with the aforementioned goals. So the product that we received, unlike years back, was very refined, and the changes sent back to the schools were very minimal. Another item that's noteworthy is the incredible effort that's being engaged by Dr. Alvick and Dr. Lehman and Ms. Christine Christie regarding staffing at the 8 schools that we have. We have very unequal enrollment growth through our 8 schools. Generally speaking, the northern schools have equal, flat, or declining slightly enrollment. The southern area of town has strongly increasing enrollment. And when you're looking at adding teachers to commensurate with the student growth at the southern area of town, it's very easy just to say, I need X amount of teachers to cover the new projected students. But what Dr. Alvick and Dr. Lehman are doing out of the spirit of fiscal conservatism and efficiency is reviewing all of the personnel items at all of the schools. They're recommending potential transfers of staff from schools that have flat or declining enrollment to those who have need. And that balances the instructional teaching load very beautifully and efficiently. Finally, there are numerous facility needs being presented this year. It's going to be very difficult to incorporate these into the budget. Items such as roofs that we talked about before, and particularly capital issues at Applegard School will need address. I can tell you our commitment is always to do what we can in the budget, as we have previously. Every year, except for this last budget where we had a cut of $700,000 in state aid, we have always incorporated a large capital project, such as a roof replacement project, paving, items in the vicinity of $1 million to $4 million a year. That's incredible to fit in a growing district's budget, where there is no relief in state aid to provide for those items. Generally, districts accumulate these issues and put out a bond referendum. And I'm not saying that Monroe will not have to. Some of the issues at Applegarth have become material and could not be supported by a budget to satisfy them in our entirety. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, a lot of challenges, because one thing's for sure, that the revenues are very finite and capped, while our needs are not. The next item I want to talk about briefly is the audit update. The state of New Jersey today has issued a law change where they extended the deadline. Governor Murphy signed legislation that would provide school districts with an additional time to file their required annual audits with the Commissioner of Education. It's a 2-month extension, which takes you from December 4th, I believe, out to February 4th. Now, the reason, one of the reasons that they did that and extended it, obviously, is the effects of COVID on school districts auditing. Our auditing firm was hit by this too. One of the persons doing field work contracted the disease, and for example, and had to stay out a while. But also, the state of New Jersey is very late this year in calculating the state's obligation for post-retirement pension benefits and post-retirement health benefits. This is a state obligation, but part of the comprehensive annual financial report requires school district specific disclosure of what our share is of that big obligation that the state has. And these numbers are always late, but this year they are very late, and we're going to have an extension of time. Our auditor has prioritized Monroe, and we will be the first audit presented in January. So look forward to that at the first meeting in January. On tonight's agenda, in the Business Administrator's Report, you will see an agenda item for an approval of a contract with Samuel Klein & Company. And I want to explain what that is. I already went through it in the weekly confidential to the board, but I want to do it for the public's benefit here. That proposal tonight is very specific for only auditing the application for state school aid and the district report of transported resident students, which are 2 voluminous state reports that are required in the month of December, and drive a lot of state aid funding for the school district. There is a lot of work that has to be done in the district capacity to make sure these reports are accurate, but it is in the board's best interest to make sure that these are audited before they go out. The hazard, if they are not, is inherently you have a couple IEPs that present a problem, or one student here that was Jamesburg and should have been Monroe classification. And that extra audit check helps and ensures that we will not be subject to any state penalties or loss of state aid, which would be critical. So tonight's recommendation in the BA report for Samuel Klein & Company is only the auditing of the ASSA and the DRTRS, which are due in December of 2020. And it does not commit the board to an appointment of the auditor to do the comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended June 30, 2021. I hope that's clear, and that's a very a fair price that's been quoted, and it's for 100% audit of every student reported in those reports. It's not just a test. And finally, on a real high note, we've presented some very impressive grant applications, both at the committee levels and the board level previously. And we have another dynamite one tonight included in my report that I would have liked to have presented at a committee level, but it was just identified recently. This USDA grant is due December 11th at 4 p.m. So Cindy Schaller, who is the new food service director, with assistance from a very committed mentoring Nancy Mitrosak, and I completed a grant that is for submission, and if the board approves it tonight, And the district would be eligible for an equipment reimbursement from the USDA. Ms. Schaller identified 2 high-speed panini presses, which she would like to deploy at the middle school and the high school, which would speed the queuing and get students through the line and have more time to eat at their tables instead of waiting. And those 2 machines combined are about $30,300. And if approved tonight, the state will reimburse us 100% of those costs. So those are the material items on my report tonight. And I would just like to conclude with one other sentimental note. We have 3 retiring board members this term. Mr. Steve Ryback, our board president, Ms. Jill DeMeo, both have committed themselves over the last 3 years to the Board of Education during very difficult and challenging times. And as impressive as that is and how much they accomplished over the past 3 years, there's another very special member of the Board of Education who had a term 7 times that of Mr. Ryback and Ms. DeMeo, Mrs. Kathy Kolopanovich. She started on the board in 1999. She's finished her 21st year of consecutive board service. And out of those 21 years, 10 she has been board president, and 6 she has been board vice president. That's 16 out of 21 years in the hierarchy of government for the Board of Education, elected by her peers, which has been 21 separate and different and distinct boards of education over the years. Her accomplishments are the construction of the Monroe Township High School, the Mill Lake School, the Oak Tree School, renovations to Barclay Brook, Brookside, Woodland, and also notably is the character of our student body with the Jamesburg Agreement. I could go on, but it's not my role, and I'm going to conclude with that. But Mrs. Kolopanovich, I know you are a hockey enthusiast, and in my opinion, you are the number 99 of board members, which is Wayne Gretzky's number. I know you're a big fan of his. And I want to thank you for all that you've done for the students and the parents and the community of Monroe Township. Now, Mr. Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through E be approved by consent roll call.
Okay, any questions?
So moved.
Second?
And second, I'll second it. But I also have questions.
Okay.
Mr. Gorski, on professional appointments 1 and 2, was there paperwork that had been previously provided? Because I looked on board docs and I didn't see anything in the executive content.
There should have been. Dr. Alvick or Dr. Lehman could speak specifically about those services. I simply incorporate them into my report, but they're not from my origin. I'll simply compile them from the different departments.
Are those documents on board docs?
I don't know. I don't know if they are. That's
well, I know, unless, look, I can always miss something, but I didn't see them on the board docs in the executive in the executive place. So I'll move on. Maybe we can put them up anyway. On number 3.
Mr. Arminio, I beg your pardon. There is no additional paperwork. All the disclosure is what you have there.
That's it. Okay, so they're both a year. They're both a year contract, and yes, it's $5,500 per student for the year. Do we know how many students are going to be taking advantage of these?
Michelle, it's not 5,500, it's 550.
I'm sorry. Yep. Okay, 550. Thank you, Kathy.
No, we don't know how many students are taking advantage of it. It's something that is needed if we don't have staff members. Most of the time we have staff members that do the home instruction.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Number 3, I did look at that. Mr. Gorski, can you say when you think the audit will be completed by the auditor for these? Because I thought in the recent past, we've been told that they were going to make the December deadline. And I think up until last month or the month before, they were pretty much on track to make the December deadline. So now this is an extension of that?
Mrs. Arminio, that is correct. The goal was to do it in December. However, an integral part of the financial statements are the disclosure of those state pension and health obligations that are not Monroe's, but that of the state, but our portion. Without that being incorporated into our financial statements, we would have a qualified opinion, meaning it's not a clean audit. There's something missing. So the auditor rightfully suggested delaying a month until the state releases those numbers. That's beyond our control, and that will cause a delay to January. We will be the first district that is still presented. The audit for the year ended June 30, 2020 will be concluded at that time when the auditor presents to the board in January. This work is post June 30, 2020 audit. It is concurrent with the district obligations that are going on in December. And as I mentioned before, it's a critical service to ensure the complete accuracy of the state reports that are the basis for our state aid.
Okay, and this is all due by February? Is that what is that in compliance? Yeah.
The audit is due in February. That is correct. It will be in the administration's hands to submit. The auditor will also send it in by that time.
Okay, but the extension that we're calling for tonight, is that also due by February?
Those reports are due by December, and some may linger into early January.
Okay, and the reason why I asked that question, because the backup paper provided talks about June 30th of 2021 annual independent ASSA. So are we extending his contract to June 30th, 2021?
No, as I said before, this is a approval for only specific auditing services for the ASSA and DRTRS. The confusion I think you're having is that both of those reports, ASSA, DRTRS, that are for students counted and transported as of October 15, 2020, are part of the audit for 21. So these are going to be two areas specifically audited by the auditor, which does not obligate the board to the comprehensive annual financial report and full audit services of this firm. If the board was, for example, hypothetically to have an RFP for auditing services, the subsequent auditing firm appointed by the board would incorporate this audit work into their audit and take responsibility for it.
Okay, again, yeah, it makes sense. And I do get confused once in a while because, you know, when something is in writing, I suspect that we have to go by it after we approve it. So the fact that on your November 13, 2020 letter, it talks about June 30th, 2021. So I was under the impression that we were extending that because there's really no end date to this on this letter. That's why I'm curious.
The proposal is specifically only for those two services and concludes with those two services. If the auditor was to be retained for next year's audit, it would be a separate proposal presented to the Board of Education.
Okay, so again, he's going to do this regardless, or this is something that has to be proposed in 2021?
These two services of auditing, the ASSA and DRTRS, are critical to be performed by the due dates of the reports, which are December.
Okay.
This appointment tonight appoints the auditor only to audit those two specific reports, which are time sensitive.
Okay.
And not thereafter.
Okay. And my next one is on the grant application. Yes, I got a chuckle that a Panini press is going to cost $15,000. But my real question is, who will be operating that? Will it be away from the students? There won't be any danger. And I did read it where it says that they are cooled. They're not hot, apparently, when using it. But will the staff be trained in using these panini presses?
Well, these are very fancy, high-speed panini presses. They're meant to do high volume.
Yeah, no, that I understand.
And I don't mean to be silly or anything, but these machines can whip out paninis to handle a long line of students, and that's a high demand item in our cafeteria. Nancy Mitrasak and Ms. Schaller, replacing her, have always had extremely well-trained staff. I review every incident report of injury to every staff member in this district that occurs. I cannot remember seeing one in our cafeteria operation in years.
No, I understand. I just want to
No
make
students are
sure.
by it.
Okay, no students will buy it, and it will be manually, okay. I thought that, and this is just an application, or are we guaranteed this number already?
This is a grant application tonight. The word from the county is that this will be approved. The money is there.
Oh, okay.
So I have a high expectation that this will be approved and will be reimbursed in full. Otherwise, there is no obligation or liability to the district. It'll be approved before we buy the equipment.
Yes, of course. Okay, thank you.
Steve.
Yes, Mr. Pelori?
Yeah, Mike, if we can keep the responses to the point, not that you're going on, I just don't want to waste anybody's time here. Just picking on where Michelle left off with the grant application for $30,000, and that's the only 2 panini presses that we could come up with. I mean, if there's funding, why can't we go for a little bit more?
That's what the 2 directors have identified a need for. There has been a lot of machinery updated in the cafeteria previously. We had $90,000 of equipment replaced last year, so it's unfortunate that this grant comes out now, but
Last year would have been nicer. Okay. On the item number D, you have about $11.6 million in payouts. Is that actual cost incurred in the month of October? Is it linearly projected per month based on the overall budget?
I believe you're referring to the bill list, and those are actual costs.
Okay.
And those checks, except for those obligated by contract, such as debt service payments, are held until the board approves them and then they're released.
Yeah, I'm going backwards. I apologize. The other question is on the item number 1 under A. I know Michelle asked a question about how many people. We said we don't know, but do we budget this in our overall budget and it's available for these payments?
Absolutely, it is budgeted for, or you would not be seeing it tonight. I've subsequently to that conversation learned it's 1 student.
Okay. The last question I have is we discussed at the last meeting about Mary Smith leaving. I don't recall the exact date. We contemplated on hiring an attorney firm for for a certain period of time. My question and the need for asking it is that, are we going to have coverage if there is a lapse from the time that Mary Smith is going to retire to the time that we actually get attorney on board? Are we going to be exposed anytime in between?
No, there is no exposure. This board would be at great risk if you did not have legal appointment to go to.
Hence the question.
You have coverage through February, with the board having an option to extend it into March by the firm of Porzio. They handle at least 3 other school districts, I believe, and you'll be in good hands with them in the interim while you're choosing what to do next.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I guess we could vote then. Mr. Gorski?
Okay, Mr. Tefano.
Michelle had her hand up.
I'm sorry, just very quickly. I spent the whole day today, I took the day off from work, and I spent the whole day at the law forum for the New Jersey School Boards Association. And one of Porzio's members of their firm gave a wonderful presentation. So I'm pretty happy that they are equipped to help us until we settle on what we're going to do next year. So they were very well informed, and the firm seemed to be very professional. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we can proceed on with the vote.
Okay, Mr. Tefano.
Yes.
Ms. DeMayo.
Yes.
Ms. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Ms. Siegel.
Yes.
Ms. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky,
Yes.
Mr. Pluri,
Yes.
Mr. Nicotinsky,
Yes.
and Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Board President, board action items A through E has passed, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorski. We can move on with my report. Today, we were notified by New Jersey school boards that we have 3 board members that have not kept up with their minimal course requirements, and that's the professional development. So I'm going to urge all board members to do what you can, please, to stay current in that. It is important for everyone. At this time, I'd like to thank the residents of Monroe for allowing me to serve 2 consecutive terms in what is now one of New Jersey's top school systems. We have a wonderful, dedicated administrative team, Dr. Alvick, Dr. Lehman, Michael Gorski. Mary Smith, our board attorney, and Jerry Tague, our facilities director, are invaluable, dedicated, and a pleasure to work with. Mary, I wish you the best of luck, as I know you are leaving Monroe. Our buildings are staffed by outstanding employees who work so hard for our students. Our transportation department and security equally first rate. Serving on the BOE is a kind of a balancing act. Working with volunteers, that's what we are, who often have different opinions, listening to the public, keeping our employees safe and happy in their positions, concern over taxes and state aid, increases in student enrollment, adjusting to ever-changing conditions, and moving the district forward educationally are just some of the areas board members deal with. Over my years in Monroe, I have seen quite an improvement in academics. Our district and school administrators and teachers work hard to analyze data and foster the needed skills to always improve instruction. But a growing district means more money, and that's a real juggling act and a major concern for all of us. For me, there is a lot of satisfaction in seeing improvement and attending graduation every year as we see more of our students not only graduating, but going on to 4-year colleges and more attending Ivy League schools as well. The initiatives that make that happen start in the lower grades and move up. The administrative teams from the district to the building staff are all part of the equation. We have also realized that non-college bound students must have the experiences needed to gain the employment they desire. We are doing that. It takes years, money, and dedication. The arts have not been forgotten. If you attend our concerts, you will be amazed at the quality of instruction our students are receiving, and the ability level is astounding. Their awards are well-deserved. We are doing quite a job in sports as well. Just recently, I read that our football coach, Dan Lee, was named Home News Tribune Coach of the Year for guiding our team with 5-1 record to its first winning season since 2014. My congratulations to all of you, and it's Falcon pride that a lot of effort that keeps us in the positive realm. There are still many challenges before you. That's what's important. Perhaps the biggest concerns are the pandemic, growth in student enrollment, and the cost of meeting those demands. Work with our administration, staff, and parents to find the answers. This pandemic has brought a new perspective to the world. Dr. Alvick's main concern is the safety and well-being of our students and staff. Please take her advice seriously, knowing that it's guided by science and a deep sense of responsibility and respect. There are always issues. Let's analyze, debate, and vote. A new board offers a new beginning to come together and move on. Constant degradation in social media only serves to strengthen any divide. If we want residents to participate by running for the board or speak up without fear of retribution, our interactions can help improve those concerns. You might be wondering why I chose not to seek another term. Certainly, I want to spend more time with my family and friends and not worry about my busy board schedule. Some of you might remember that I have also been active before becoming a board member on town issues, especially fighting all this development. There are regulations, policies on board members as they are public officials, which define their roles and actions. Such regulations are needed to maintain civility and professionalism. With experience on both sides now, I feel I can be more effective as an involved citizen than before without having the concern of being brought up on ethics charges. Kathy and Jill, I wish you well as you are also completing your terms on the board. You both are true to what's best for students and your efforts on the BOE as well as on your committees prove that. I'm proud to have been able to call you both colleagues and friends. To everyone else on the board, I hope you see success for our district and can overcome the divisions that hurt us all. It's time to move on. Finally, I would like to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season and happy and healthy new year. Okay. That being said, any other Board of Ed business?
Steve.
And Mr. Pelori?
Andy Pelori, thank you very much. Very nicely said. I do have a couple of points that I would like to go through. So please bear with me. First and foremost is I want to congratulate our sports teams. Thank you, Mr. Lehman, for Dr. Lehman, for giving us the overview of what's going on, and just to see the football team, which I've been to a few games, that was excellent, and really happy to see our kids perform so well, and our staff for getting them there. The one thing that I also want to share is that some of the high school kids, not just high school kids, just the district kids, participated in distribution of native seeds to be planted. We were giving them some community service hours, and that went extremely well. Right now, we're also collecting food donations. I think this is the time of giving, and that's something that we should all be looking at doing for our community. One thing that I do want to bring up is the daily updates that Dr. Alvik is sending. Dr. Alvik and Dr. Laban, thank you very much for what you're doing in keeping the community appraised of what's going on. I just want to share that, for those of you who don't believe what we have out there, I have the COVID dashboard in front of me because I got to monitor this for my office. The second wave, as it stands right now, is a lot worse than the first wave itself. I think in the first wave, the daily cases were about 4,200, and I believe yesterday or the day before, it was over 6,000. Just in the state of New Jersey, we have about 81,000 cases of COVID, and almost 15,500 souls lost to this disease. So I just want to bring those two things up. And Doug pointed out about the teacher salaries for Doug Poy. I'm sorry, Mr. Poy suggested about the starting teacher salaries. I completely understand. I was not a part of the teachers negotiation, but I'm sure that the board and the Teachers Association did what they felt is fair and reasonable. So I give the benefit of doubt to them. But really, I know Pete didn't get a chance to give his building, grounds, and transportation. I can tell you that when we sit down and talk about these things, for example, at the Apple Guards, one of the things we discussed was the roof replacement. Basically, what Jerry Tague said was that the roof is in such a bad shape, we really need to do something with it as soon as possible. So, however you want to view it, do we take some money and put it on the facilities, or do we give the teachers more money, or increase our teachers, a number of teachers, or facilities? It's really a push and pull right across. And I think we have a huge challenge ahead of us in 2021. I completely agree with you, Steve, that we need to look for a common goal to accomplish for 2021. Whoever is going to serve as the president for the next year, I really urge them, but not knowing who that is, that we stay on the same path and rowing the same direction and not in different directions. And to three of you retiring, it's sad to see good people not run for the board again. But I guess that's how it goes in this town. But overall, thank you very much for everything you have done. And I know that this is not the end of the road. You'll continue to do well and guide all of us as we move forward. My last statement is I want to wish everybody a happy and safe holidays. Enjoy your time with your family. Be careful out there and do the best you can for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pelori. Anyone else?
Mr. Rybeck, it's Rupa. I have
Yes, sure.
Good evening, everyone. I actually attended I have an update from the Delegate Assembly. I attended on Saturday, November 21st, and they discussed the virtual workshop that New Jersey school boards did and shared some of the numbers about how successful it was. They had over 6,000 attendees, 470 plus school board members, over 100 sessions, and 140 plus exhibits. So they received many compliments and great feedback for the sessions, and School Boards is continuing to bring a lot of their courses online so that it's more viewable for everyone, and where driving and getting to a place is not an issue. So they're really looking at using this virtual technology for future sessions. They shared an update on several of the research projects that they've been helping with during the pandemic, researching searching for a new normal, the road back, online learning, and the digital divide. And they're now working on a social and emotional piece to share with school boards. They also want the delegate assembly. We passed a resolution, and it was actually a little interesting. The Lodi School Board of Education had brought this motion to the delegate assembly. And what it was, not getting into too much of the legal terms, was they proposed a motion to have, if a board member, they had a situation where a board member was running for an open seat. So this board member was in their first term in their second year. And what they wanted to do was put a petition in to run for the open seat for an open seat on the board. So what the resolution ended up becoming was, in order to run, you would have to resign from your current seat in order to run for another seat. So it was almost like they were trying to hold two seats on the board, if that makes sense. So the resolution was passed. I can actually share it with you, but what the actual resolution was, the NJSBA believes that a board member whose seat is not up for re-election in the upcoming election cycle should resign the seat currently held before submitting a nominating petition to become a candidate for a board seat other than the seat currently held by that board member. So it did pass in delegate assembly, so we should be seeing this coming out from school boards soon. And the other thing I want to do too is I do want to thank Mr. Tague and the entire facilities crew. It's a tremendous effort keeping the schools clean, safe. I read in our confidentials all the work that everyone is doing, but I really want to do say a special thank you to the custodians. I know how much time they're spending making sure that the buildings are clean and safe, and our security team and everyone else that's involved. I know it's a tremendous effort, so I do want to thank you all. And congratulations to the fall sports and all the student athletes and the coaches. It's so nice to hear what a great season it was despite COVID and making everything work. And the high school clubs, I think it's wonderful you're giving back to the communities and participating in all these charities. And my last thing is I do want to thank Steve, Kathy, and Jill. It's been a great 2 years working with all of you. Steve and Kathy, you've been tremendous mentors to me these 2 years, helping me really learn and understand what the board is all about. And, you know, it's been really, I have so many words. I have so much I could say. I can go on and on, but I won't. And Jill, I have had a great time working with you on curriculum. I know we've always had the passion to make sure that every kid had an opportunity. We've had healthy debates, not always agreeing, but we've had good, healthy debates on making sure that what we're doing in our work in curriculum is we're making sure every kid, no matter who you are, has the opportunity to be successful. So I thank you all for your friendship and being colleagues with you on the board.
Thank you, Ruth. That's very nice. Anyone else from the board?
Yes.
Was that Michelle?
I'll defer to Jill. I'll wait until Jill's done.
Okay. Jill?
Sorry, I just want to say something short and sweet about leaving. It's been an honor to serve the children of this district. I feel I'm leaving them in good hands because you have an exceptional administrative team, support staff, and great teachers that love what they do. The education provided in this district is exceptional, and I know our students will go far because they have been because of what they have been taught, but also what they have been shown. I wish everyone the best of luck and happy holidays to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Arminio?
Yes, I have a few things. I'm sorry to take up so much time, but first and foremost to the clubs, to all the students in the clubs, through their efforts and a really good citizenship for being altruistic and considering people who are in need. So thank you to the clubs. It's an enormous effort and they should be very proud, and we're certainly very proud of them. Secondly, to my colleagues on the board who are stepping down or leaving the board at this time, thank you for your input and the time spent. I know we spent a lot of hours over these years working very hard, and also not always agreeing, but for the most part, we have unanimous votes and we pass things and move the district along. So thank you for your time spent, and I'm sure I will be seeing you and hope for your counsel in the new year. So thank you very much. Thirdly, to the board members coming in on January 4th, I welcome you. I am happy that we will be starting anew, and we'll have some new people, new ideas, and hopefully very passionate members of the Board of Education. Another thing I would like to say, of course, to the community, thank you for all your support this year. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and all of the holidays that everybody pursues. I wish everyone good health in that. And finally, in the spirit of educating the whole child, I'd like to suggest that the entire community look up to the sky for some stargazing and meteor shows and some of the planets. In December, around the 21st, the closest in 1623 will be the planets of, I think it's Saturn and Jupiter. So just to change gears a little bit, go outside and observe these beautiful planets. They haven't been seen this close together since 1623, and I'm sure everybody can find more detailed information on the internet. So as we look up into the sky, we can all hope for a brighter new year and the resolve of this terrible pandemic. So I wish all a happy and bright new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Michelle, is it that Adi is going to invite everybody to his house so that we can use his telescope?
Yeah, I see that he has a telescope, and I heard when I was listening to these about the sky. Oh, there's also going to be meteorite showers in December. That telescopes are hard to come by. A lot of people have purchased them, so we all might have to share Adi's as well. And there is, well, I'll save this for next year. Thank you all. Be well, be happy, and see you in the new year.
Thank you. Adi, maybe you could figure out how to Zoom a telescope meeting. That might be it.
Outside.
I'm all
Okay.
set.
And there it is, folks, right behind them. Okay, there's no other other board members wanting to speak at this point. Kathy, oh, okay, I see you now. All right, go ahead.
Thanks, Steve. You're just going to let me go into the sunset without saying anything? It's, as everybody knows, my last meeting after 21 years on the Board of Education. And it's impossible to put that many years of commitment into a few short minutes of time. It's a rather early board meeting, so there might be a book for me to write in the future. Steve had, I share in a lot of the comments that Steve already made, and where we've come from and where we're going. It's been an honor to have served the Monroe community as a member of the Board of Education for so many years. It's been an awesome experience for me, and one that I will always treasure. We've had our ups and downs, or ins and outs. Agreed with each other over the years. We've not agreed with each other, but our school district is very different today than it was when I started in 1999. There have been so many positive accomplishments made during my year on the board, and I'm very proud of how far we've come in all areas: curriculum, music, athletics, the arts, where our kids are going to college, the growth of our community, because we have raised the bar so high that people want to come here. facilities, AP classes, honors classes, and so much more. When I was on the board, I didn't know much about educating students, but I knew a lot about volunteering my time since I had already spent 13 years as a member of our district PTAs and other district organizations. I had a lot to learn to be a good board member. But since that time, I've become well-versed in all aspects of education, from finance to curriculum, negotiations, education law, governance, personnel, the budget process, how policies affect our district, and so much more. I will always be grateful for the opportunities I had to learn and grow. I couldn't have dreamed of being here for 21 years. For me, it's always been about kids, and my focus was that all kids should have the highest quality education possible. All decisions that I have been made by me and me alone. I followed the advice I received when elected for my first term on the board. When I vote, I should always ask myself, is this good for all students? And second, how does this affect the taxpayers? And I always live by that motto. There are so many people that I've had the pleasure to work with over the years. I'd like to thank Carol Swalje and Dennis Ventrello, former principals of Barclay Brook and Brookside schools, who were the ones who encouraged me to run for the Board of Education. Running for the board was never on my radar, but apparently they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and I truly appreciate their support and confidence in me. I've had the opportunity of working with so many good administrators during the years, all who have contributed to make Monroe what it is today. The administrative team we have in place now, Dr. Alvick, Dr. Lehman, Mr. Gorski, Ms. Smith, Mr. Tagg, are second to none. They are experienced, knowledgeable, professional, passionate, experts in their fields, and most importantly, they are all committed to children. And I leave knowing that the district is in good hands. I've worked with many, many board members, everyone unique and with something to offer, and have made lifelong friendships that I will treasure. What I hope happens in the future is that board members respect and listen to each other. You don't have to like the people you work with, or you don't have to agree with them, but we need to work together in order to make things work for this school district and the future. And the pendulum swings both ways. Lastly, I'd like to congratulate Jill and Steve for their time on the board and for all they have done for children, and wish them well in their future. And they have, working with me, it's been a pleasure to work with them. I knew Jill before she was on the board and could see that she was passionate about education, especially in the area of curriculum. I knew that Jill was a fighter and would always be an excellent asset to our board, and she was. And Steve, I don't know what to say. So this might make me cry, but I think we are an example for people who will come to the board and not know what to expect, because we were adversaries when we first met 6 years ago, and we have become friends, colleagues, and partners, and I treasure your friendship and in working with you. We don't always agree on things or the direction we should go or how to get there, but we are always able to talk things out, and I think we have respect for each other and our opinions. It's been awesome working with you. I also want to wish the remaining board members good luck, as there are major things that need to be accomplished, and it won't be easy. And I want to wish best wishes to the members of the public for a very safe, healthy, and happy holiday season. So now as I leave, I can go and renew my Devils season tickets, knowing that I'll be able to attend the games. So thank you very much, everybody, for your support and in working with you as colleagues.
Thank you, Kathy. That's very nice. Appreciate it. Any other board member before we move on? Okay, I don't hear anything. All right, now we can go to the public forum. This is not limited just to the agenda, but again, you have 4 minutes, and you still have to state your name, etc., as Mr. Gorski noted at the beginning. So, Chris, do we have anybody?
Mr. Board President, we still have a hand up from the previous session. So if you would please lower your hand, and if you'd like to speak, raise again. But right now we have Prakash Parab, Would you like video, Prakash?
No video, thank you. Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I'd like to, Steve, Kathy, and Jill, you all have a happy and very healthy retirement. I'm sure I'll be seeing you all active. As Steve said, I'm sure guys will be active doing service to the community. So look forward for that. First of all, it was a very good update to see most of our sports teams are competing well, going to semifinals, finals. So congratulations to them. Also, many students group doing a lot to the community. Some of them Red Cross and others. I didn't take much of the notes, but all the students, raised about 7,500 and giving it to the soup kitchen. Do admire that, and we are proud of them. We also had a successful Seva Diwali food drive. Last year, Dr. Alvich was there. This year, because of the COVID, we cannot do in-person celebration, but we raised about, students participated and parents, we raised about 12,000 pounds of food to the food pantries and about $1,200. The last thing I want to say is, before that, also a happy holidays to everyone, but also want to point out that, as Governor today pointed out, that we are going to have a peak in mid-January with the model's prediction of worst as well as moderate. And moderate model also doesn't look good. The crisis we are going to see in the hospitals and everywhere, overcrowding and all in mid-January. So I think Dr. Alvich, she's working, and the staff making sure the schools are safe. But I think another 4 months we have to be very careful till the general population gets vaccinated starting April. So I wish safety for the children, staff, parents, everyone. So I wish happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Next person, please, Chris.
Mr. Board President, we have Pradeep Malam.
Okay.
Pradeep, would you like video?
No, thank you. So I have a couple of questions. Let me split it out first. The first question: have we submitted the application for grants to county and state that was supposed to go on December 4th or 5th? That's my first question. Even the second question is the follow-up for that. If we submitted, can the public get a copy of it, or where should we look for that? And apart from that, I had a high schooler in the school district, and after the meeting with the teachers last week, every teacher is going to saying that the 1 hour classes, that 55-minute classes that we are going through is not sufficient for them to absorb this much of courseware that they are going through. So if at all we are going fully remote for high school, my request to the administration and board is please reconsider the 1.5 hour class slot and full day school schedule, because nobody will be in the buildings and they can attend the classes from home when they are doing it. Just make sure that it is a full day school so that we'll have some time and good coverage of the courses.
Okay.
That's all my questions.
All right, Dr. Alvik, I couldn't really get his first question. Is that something you can handle? Did you hear it?
Now that would be Mr. Gorski's office. I think he's asking about the ESSA application.
I couldn't make out what he said. Thank you.
Mr. Ryback?
Yes, Mr. Gorski.
I believe the gentleman inquired about the status of the grants that were previously identified to the board and the public. All of the grants have been submitted by their due dates as approved by the Board of Education for such, with one exception, that is the USDA equipment grant that was just approved tonight that will be submitted by tomorrow. If the public or anybody wishes to have a copy of these grants, just understand that Some of them have student-specific information in them, and some of them are very voluminous. But you're welcome to submit an OPRA request, and we'll process them in accordance with law. The grants are not something that we have traditionally posted on the website or had any interest in previously.
Chris, next person, please.
Mr. Board President, we have Tim Esso.
Okay.
Tim, would you like video?
No, thank you.
All right. Welcome, Mr.
Tim Esso, 2 Allison Court. First and foremost, I want to thank the 3 outgoing board members for their service to the district. It's a tough job, and all 3 did very, very well. Except Kathy did forget to congratulate the new incoming members. With that said, also as well, I want to congratulate our new board members coming in January the 4th, which is Chrissy Skirby, Katie Belko, and Karen Bierman for their win in their pursuit for transparency in our great district. Much needed, and looking for some really good new beginnings. As well, we have a senior that graduated last year whose mother works in the district, and he had joined the enlisted in the Marines, and he was just sent off to boot camp a couple days ago. Brandon Boreski, I don't know if any of you've heard or saw. I think sometimes we look past a lot of the good things or bad things, or good things rather. And I think a kid going to college or a kid going to the military should seek equal value. And I think we should recognize Brendan as a staple of the community. Okay, and lastly, I want to thank Dr. Alvick for returning my phone call this week with regards to an issue that I was really deeply concerned with. I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic here, and we have kids who are playing on a football field Thanksgiving Day. I was driving out for my wife to get a couple of things for Thanksgiving, and I pulled into the school, and I wanted to make sure my son Lucas wasn't playing football on the field. As I told him 2 years ago, you can't do that. It's a tremendous liability to the taxpayers. I noticed that there were some kids playing on the field. One of those kids happened to be a board member's son. Here we are in the middle of a global pandemic. I would think we'd be a little more responsible and tell them that, listen, you're not allowed to play on the field. And I want to thank Dr. Alvick for, addressing that concern, speaking to that board member, because, it is an issue that we all should be concerned about. It's a liability. We're in a global pandemic. We have kids that are out of state coming back home. We want to stop the spread of this, not continue it. And that's really it. That's all I need to say. I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And best of luck with you, Kathy and Steve, on your new endeavors. You've done a great job in the school district, way beyond your kids' years at school, and that's something to be said for your integrity. Thank you.
Just want to comment on one thing. If people, of course, it's important. If people are noticing students playing or doing something, or anyone where they're not supposed to be playing, like on fields or whatever, I think the thing to do is just call the police, which in this case I think was done, and it gets settled. All right, now we can move on. Next person.
Mr. Board President, we have Brian Fabiano.
Okay.
Brian, would you like video?
No, that's okay. So I'll keep my comments pretty short and sweet here. And this is for Dr. Alvick. And, other callers have talked about, cases going up again, more than we've seen, earlier in the year. The state is entering into, high capacities again in the hospitals, long-term care facilities, and, COVID is obviously continuing to spread around us. And, more scarier this time, I think, is a lot of the asymptomatic spread. This is a business I'm in, and I can contest to what I see daily. I don't understand, and I can't stress enough, given your own report on the challenges that we see, the levels of cases that are being reported by the district, what are we doing staying open? We're entering into the busiest time of the year with holidays, families still socializing, kids still socializing. What is the risk, of going remote for 3 to 4 weeks, just like all the big districts have done around us? What is the risk when we've been remote for the better part of the year already? I think we need to stop playing God, healthcare, doctor. Earlier last week when the Mill Lake thing came out, I sent an email and I questioned because it was my son's class. Thank God he's not in person instruction. But the point was made. We talked about someone testing positive just before Thanksgiving, and they can't be transmitting 3 days. After 3 days, it's only 3 days. But yet, when someone's positive, they have to quarantine for 10 days. You go to the hospital, they have to be quarantined for much longer than the 3 days. We have people being reinfected for the second time. I don't understand how you can be sitting there and making a decision to keep these schools open with the current state, our country. Why are we going to take that risk for a couple of weeks when we know the risks are the highest with families interacting and groups, coming together for the holidays? I just don't get it.
Dr. Alvick, did you have any comment?
No, I don't. We're doing the best we can. We do not have spread in schools.
Okay, thank you. Chris, we can move on to the next person.
Mr. Board President, we do not have anybody else waiting. Oh, we just have Sarah Aziz just came in.
Okay.
Sarah, would you like video?
No.
Okay.
My name is Sarah Aziz, and I live on 3 Lancelot Drive. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the outgoing members of our Board of Education, Kathy Kalpanowicz, Jill DeMeo, and Steve Ryback for their years of service. I was actually a student at MTHS over 20 years ago before Kathy got on the board, and I can personally attest to the improvements that have occurred under her leadership, including the building of 2 new schools, Oak Tree and the high school, improvements in our levels of academic achievement, and programs for special needs kids, and a much greater variety of extracurricular activities. I also want to thank Ms. DeMeo for her work on the curriculum committee. Our district has such a wide array of great courses for students of no level of ability that were not available before. I would also like to thank you, our board president, for your work on our board, as you are the only board member with professional experience, both as a teacher and a school administrator. All 3 of you have been very responsible stewards of our school district and have faced unprecedented challenges recently as a result of the pandemic. I appreciate your commitment to professional development for yourselves and for our staff. I appreciate that you 3 have always taken the advice protecting our district from costly lawsuits and supporting those district employees that have competently managed our school finances such that our district has avoided so many of the painful cuts in educational services that other school districts have suffered during this pandemic. Your presence on our school board will be sorely missed, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. That was very nice. All right, is there anyone else?
Mr. Board President, there is not.
Okay, and then we can end the public session, and we can do our closed session, which I believe Dr. Alvick should take, say, 10, 15 minutes.
10 minutes, yes, tops.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects: harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Could somebody move that?
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
Mr. Mayo, seconded. Okay, any questions? All right, we could vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I heard 2. All right, everyone is in favor. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
And we should all be back now.
Sorry for my delay.
It's okay, Paul. Okay, so now we can go to the public forum, and that's for closed session items only. Please note that because of the conversation in closed session, at this point, we can't talk about what was discussed. It's a student issue. And as I said before, the closed session items can only be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. But is there anyone in the public
Mr. Board President, we still have 2 hands up from the previous session.
Well, this is for closed session items now. I should be speaking about, unless it's for closed session, we can't do this.
I do have a new hand up from Pradeep Alam.
All right.
Pradeep, would you like video?
No, thanks. Sorry, I was raising like by mistake.
Okay. I guess that's it then with the public session. All
Yes,
right.
I don't see anybody.
Okay, thank you, Chris, and thanks for a good job today. Our next scheduled Board of Education meeting is January 4th. And now I make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh, as Mr. Mayor seconded, okay. Any discussion? I assume not. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, none opposed?
Bye, Jill. Bye, Kathy. Bye, Steve.
Bye, Andy. Bye, everybody.
Joe, Kathy, and Steve.
Thank you.
Good luck.
This meeting is now.
Thank you, Paul.
Bye, everybody. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you
It's been a
all.
pleasure.